Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a continuation. We have started a course on the CDL Manual General Knowledge Test preparation. We did video 1 last week, Monday, so we're going to try and get a second one out here today, and I'm hoping to get 2 of these per week until we get through the manual here, and then you can select whichever video it is that is appropriate for you for what you're studying and trying to accomplish in getting your written tests done for your CDL. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the book for the day. And like I said, we're going to do video 2, and it starts out talking about driver disqualifications. So in general, you may not drive a commercial motor vehicle if you are disqualified for any reason. Alcohol, leaving the scene of an accident, and commission of a felony. It is illegal to operate a commercial motor vehicle if your blood alcohol content, BAC, is 0.4 or more, and this varies per state, so you need to check with your state to determine exactly what those laws are in your state. Some states vary, but the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Division standard is 0.4, and the state of Kansas is 0.4 or more. If you operate a commercial vehicle, you shall be deemed to have given your consent to an alcohol testing. So if you are driving a commercial vehicle and you get pulled over and the officer suspects any alcohol involved, you automatically have to comply with their alcohol testing procedures on the scene. If you refuse to comply, that's an automatic refusal, which deems an automatic failure of the test. So you have to comply with their testing if you are driving a commercial motor vehicle. You will lose your CDL for at least 1 year for a first offense for driving a commercial vehicle if your blood alcohol content is 0.4% or higher, driving a commercial motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol, refusing to undergo blood alcohol testing, driving a commercial vehicle while under the influence of a controlled substance, leaving the scene of an accident involving a commercial motor vehicle, committing a felony involving the use of a commercial motor vehicle, driving a commercial motor vehicle when the CDL is suspended, causing a fatality through neglect operation of a commercial motor vehicle. You will lose your CDL for at least 3 years if the offense occurs while you are operating a commercial motor vehicle that is placarded for hazardous materials. You will lose your CDL for life for a second offense. Yes, I said life. You will lose it for life for a second offense. You will lose your CDL for life for a second offense. You will lose your CDL for life if you use a commercial motor vehicle to commit a felony involving controlled substances. You will be put out of service for 24 hours if you have any detectable amount of alcohol under 0.4%. So if you have any detectable amount of alcohol in your system at all, you will be put out of service. Serious traffic violations. Serious traffic violations are expensive. Speeding 15 miles per hour above the posted limit, reckless driving, improper or erratic lane changes, following a vehicle too closely, traffic offenses committed in a commercial motor vehicle in connection with fatal traffic accidents, driving a commercial motor vehicle without obtaining a CDL or having a CDL in the driver's possession, and driving a commercial motor vehicle without the proper class of CDL and or endorsement, you will lose your CDL for at least 60 days. If you have committed 2 serious traffic violations within a 3-year period involving a commercial motor vehicle for at least 120 days, 3 or more serious traffic violations within 3 years period involving a commercial motor vehicle, violation of out-of-service orders, you will lose your CDL for at least 90 days. If you have committed your first violation of an out-of-service order for at least 1 year, if you have committed 2 violations for an out-of-service order in a 10-year period, for at least 3 years, if you have committed 3 or more violations of an out-of-service order in a 10-year period. And for those of you that are just getting your CDL, may not be familiar with what is an out-of-service order. An out-of-service order is if you undergo a DOT inspection and they find your truck to be in violation of a major safety issue, they will put you out of service, and you are not to move that vehicle until the items are fixed on the spot, meaning you will have to call a service person, a service truck, to come out and fix the problem with the truck, and DOT will have to sign off on it, saying that the problems have been fixed now and that you are safe to operate the vehicle again, and they will release you from the out-of-service order. Then you may move the vehicle again. If you move that vehicle during an out-of-service order, that is an out-of-service violation that you can lose your CDL for 90 days for. Railroad high-grade crossing violations. You will lose your CDL for at least 60 days for your first violation, for at least 120 days for your second violation within a 3-year period, for at least 1 year for your third violation within a 3-year period. These violations include violation of a federal, state, or local or regulation pertaining to one of the following 6 offenses at a railroad high-grade crossing. For drivers who are not required to always stop, failing to stop before reaching the crossing if the tracks are not clear. That means if there is a train coming and you fail to stop at that stop, then you can lose your license for 60 days. Let's see. For drivers who are not required to always stop, failing to slow down and check that the tracks are clear of an approaching train. For drivers who are always required to stop, failing to stop before driving into the crossing, you will lose your license for 60 days. This is going to be your school buses or your hazardous materials hauling. Any hazardous materials or passengers, school buses and passenger buses. So if you're hauling any kind of hazardous material or any passengers in a commercial motor vehicle, you are required to stop at all railroad crossings. We will get deeper into all of that stuff later in the book. For drivers failing to have sufficient space to drive completely through the crossing without stopping, you will lose your license for 60 days. This is also during your driving portion of your test. This is also an automatic failure if you have any of these violations. That is one that gets a lot of people, and I do repeat, a lot of people, depending on the area you're training in many cases, the area that you will be driving in when your examiner is riding with you from the DMV, they stop at the railroad tracks that you will not have room to make your bus across that track or your vehicle across that track between the tracks and the stoplight ahead. And if you do not have enough room, we always say, if you have any question about do you have enough room or not, do not commit. No room, no commit. Do not try to get across. What you'll need to do is stop before the tracks at the 15 to 50 feet mark, which we'll go into further in the book. You're stopping 15 to 50 feet from those tracks. You're looking both ways. You have a stoplight ahead. You do not have enough room to clear. Then you will look for that stoplight to turn green. As soon as that stoplight turns green, you must, and I repeat, you must recheck your tracks, make sure everything is clear. You have enough, no trains coming. Then step on that thing and get it across the tracks and through that light before that light turns red again. So get across the tracks and through the light before it turns red again, or you are in violation. So that's a very tricky point, and it's a very tricky point that gets a lot of people, and it has also killed a lot of people when a commercial driver does not realize they do not have the clearance. So that's a very, very important thing that we'll probably go over many times throughout these lessons. So anyways, without further ado concerning that right now, we will continue. For all drivers failing to obey a traffic control device or the directions of an enforcement official at the crossing. For all drivers failing to negotiate a crossing because of insufficient undercarriage clearance. We'll go to the one right before that. For all drivers failing to obey a traffic control device or the directions of an enforcement official at the crossing. I want to add the fact that if the lights at the crossing are flashing, the wigwag lights or the arms and the lights on the arms or the combination of the two, if there are lights lit up at that crossing, you cannot enter the crossing until all of those lights have gone out. That doesn't mean that the train has passed, the arms are going up, and you can get past the arms now, they're clear. You can see the tracks are clear. That doesn't mean just step on it and go. If those red lights are still on, that is a red light violation, and you will get cited and lose your license for 60 days. Do not go across until those lights have gone out. Continuing. For all drivers failing to negotiate a crossing because of insufficient undercarriage clearance. I have seen this happen many times with trucks that do not realize they do not have underclearance. On a raised track, you have to pay very close attention when you're in a commercial motor vehicle and you have a raised track that you have to cross. How steep is the grade going up? How far do you have across that track before the grade goes back down on the other side? If you have a long wheelbase vehicle, and a low underclearance, you're most likely your front end is going to come up, go across it, and your front end is going to drop back down the other side before the rear end starts up. This is going to obviously cause you to hit your undercarriage, likely trapping you on those tracks, and you will not be able to move. So make sure you know what your wheelbase is and your undercarriage is, and have a good visual of that, and know the crossing you're crossing has enough room and clearance that you can get your vehicle across those tracks safely. If you cannot, then you must find a different route around to avoid the undercarriage issue. I know of one particular track in all of my driving. I've came across a few, but one in particular that was particularly high, and it was an up over a single track and back down. And this one happens to be on Highway 11 in northern South Carolina in the city of Chesney. There is a very sharp track there, and I've seen multiple, and I mean multiple, trucks get hung up on those tracks because they don't have clearance to get across them. Particularly your low belly, low rider, wide load trailers that are built to only have about 18 inches of clearance or less underneath your trailer, and they're designed that way so that trailer drops down in the front and it becomes a ramp to load your heavy and wide equipment on, and then that trailer reconnects and you only have 18 inches of clearance. And keep in mind, you're talking about a 35 to 40 foot span between there that you only have 18 inches clearance. So your tractor goes over that hump and comes down on the other side. Your trailer's coming down on that thing and you're hung up. So know your undercarriage clearance. 60 days losing your license for undercarriage clearance issues, and you get hung up on a track. So remember that and know that. Time's sake, we're going to go ahead and move on here right now. Hazardous materials endorsement. A background check and disqualifications. If you require a hazardous materials endorsement, you will be required to submit your fingerprints and be subject to background check. You will be denied or will lose your hazardous materials endorsement if you are not a lawful permanent resident of the United States, renounce your United States citizenship, are wanted or under indictment for certain felonies, have a conviction in military or civilian court for certain felonies, have been adjudicated as a mental deficient, a mental defective, mental defective, or committed to a mental institution, you will not be able to obtain a CDL. Or concentrated to pose a security threat as determined by the Transportation Security Administration. The background check procedures vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Your licensing agency will provide you with all information you need to complete the required TSA background check procedures. Traffic violations in your personal vehicle. And yes, as of about 10 years ago, I think it's been about 10 years ago now. As of about 10 years ago, your violations in your personal vehicle now transfer over to your CDL and stay if you have a commercial CDL, commercial motor vehicle license. Those do not drop off after 3 years. Where you have a regular license, you can get a ticket and it'll drop off in 3 years. If you have a commercial motor vehicle license, those do not drop off anymore. Traffic violations in your personal motor vehicle. Your Motor Carrier Safety Impairment Act, MSCA of 1999. Okay, so the act occurred in 1999 and some states didn't implement it. So it's been, what are we talking about, 24 years ago when they first started bringing this into implementation. 1999 requires a CDL holder to be disqualified from operating a commercial motor vehicle if the CDL holder has been convicted of certain types of moving violations in their personal vehicle. If your privilege to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended due to violations of traffic control laws other than parking violations, you will lose your CDL driving privileges. Your privilege to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended due to alcohol, controlled substance, or felony violations. You will lose your CDL for 1 year. If you are convicted of a second violation in your personal vehicle or commercial motor vehicle, you will lose your CDL for life. Your license to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended. You may not obtain a hardship license to operate a commercial motor vehicle. Other CDL rules. There are other federal and state rules that affect drivers operating commercial motor vehicles in all states. Among them are: you cannot have more than one license. If you break this rule, a court may fine you up to $5,000 and put you in jail and keep your home state license and return the others. Now, this is a common fact that people must know and should know, but there are some that may not. You may only hold one license in your state of residency, and that's the only license that you may hold. You must notify your employer within 30 days of a conviction for any traffic violations except parking. This is true no matter what type of vehicle you are driving. You must notify your motor vehicle licensing agency within 30 days if you are convicted in any other jurisdiction of any traffic violations except parking. This is true no matter what type of vehicle you are driving. You must notify your employer within 2 business days if your license is suspended, revoked, or canceled. If you are disqualified from driving, you must give your employer information on all driving jobs you have held for the last 10 years. You must do this when you apply for a commercial driving job. No one can drive a commercial motor vehicle without a CDL. A court may fine you up to $5,000 and put you in jail for breaking this rule. Obviously, you must obtain a CDL to drive a commercial motor vehicle. And now these laws have changed over the last, 10 or 15, 20 years, to where now they're requiring fire departments. If you work for a fire department, you have to have a CDL to drive the trucks. Over 26,001 pounds. Fire trucks and farm vehicles. Some states are now requiring you to have a CDL to drive the farm vehicles, to drive a tractor on the road, to drive a tractor on the road. Why? Well, because these tractors are now very, especially in the plain states, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, lots of Texas. The tractors are now very, very, very large, and therefore the tractor itself is has ratings of over 26,001 pounds, weight ratings. These are very large tractors, so now they're requiring CDL to drive these tractors on the road. If you have a hazardous materials endorsement, you must notify and surrender your hazardous materials endorsement to the state that issued your CDL within 24 hours, or any conviction or indictment in any jurisdiction, civilian or military, for or found not guilty by reason of insanity of a disqualifying crime listed in 49 CFR 1572.103: who is adjudicated as a mental deficiency, defective, or committed to a mental institution as specified in 49 CFR 1572.109: or who renounces his or her U.S. citizenship. Your employer may not let you drive a commercial motor vehicle if you have more than one license, or if your CDL is suspended or revoked. A court may fine the employer up to $5,000 or put him or her in jail for breaking this rule. All states are connected to one computerized system to share information about CDL drivers. The states will check on drivers' accident records to be sure that the driver does not have more than one CDL. And this is also true with the ELDT training that I give and provide as well. The ELDT training is all connected interstates, federally to all states. So when I enter your information in, if you take classes with me and I enter your information in, it goes into the federal system that shows up in all states that you have had those classes. You must be properly restrained by a safety belt at all times while operating a commercial motor vehicle. The safety belt design holds the driver securely behind the wheel during a crash, helping the driver to control the vehicle and reduces the chance of serious injury or death. If you do not wear a safety belt, you are 4 times more likely to be fatally injured if you are thrown from a vehicle. Your state may have additional rules that you must also abide by and obey. So, again, this is Kansas specific, and a lot of this goes along with federal guidelines as well. So know your state's guidelines on this and know your federal guidelines on this before you decide to get a commercial motor vehicle license, and study this and pass your written test in your state. If you need help with that, contact me. Put comments in the notes or whatever. Contact me. I'd be happy to help you with whatever you're needing. Help with written tests, help with getting your ELDT training done, and so on. I do all 50 states. Some states are scheduled out tighter than others, but anyways, but all being said, that concludes the lesson for today. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye now.